1 trillion or 10,000 power level, what would you pick? I was watching a pretty girl's live stream when two options suddenly popped up on my screen. On the left was 1 trillion Longwo dollars, and on the right was 10,000 Dragon Ball power level. I frowned, looked at the options in front of me, and slowly asked, what exactly does that mean? In the real world, how strong is 10,000 power level? Can it stop bullets? Bullets won't be any threat. What about missiles? Missiles won't work either. Easy choice. I picked the 10,000 power level without a second thought. If I'm already invincible, why would I care about that trillion? In an instant, the blue panel in front of me disappeared. I felt my body change. I stood up and was about to walk forward when crack, the wooden floor under my feet suddenly shattered. I looked down and saw both my feet sunk into the floor, with cracks spreading out like a spider web. I froze. I tried to pull my feet out, but with just a little force, my body instantly lost balance. Panicking, I grabbed the table beside me to steady myself and pressed a clear palm print into the solid wood tabletop. Then the table legs couldn't take it anymore, and the whole table collapsed. The computer, keyboard, and soda cans crashed all over the floor. I stood in the middle of the wreckage, hands still in the pose of holding the table, completely stunned. Just as I was still spacing out, a call came in. I took out my phone, lightly swiped the answer button, and put it to my ear. Hello? Dad, what's up? Xiaofi! Xiaofi, something happened! Something terrible happened! What happened? Slow down. Tell me what's going on. It's your sister, Xiao Ying. Didn't she go to Yunhai with her roommates? We told her not to go that far, but she wouldn't listen. She just called home, and her voice sounded wrong. She was crying and shaking. There was a man next to her yelling at them, saying Xiao Ying is being held in Myanmar. They want 500,000 ransom. They said we only have 3 days. If we can't get the money in 3 days, they'll sell Xiao Ying somewhere even farther away and we'll never find her again. Xiaofei, what are we supposed to do? Where are we going to get 500,000? Dad, don't worry about the money. I'll figure it out. You and Mom stay home and don't go anywhere. Wait for my update. Keep your phone on. If they call again for the money, don't panic. Just tell them you're still raising it and need more time. Xiaofei, what can you possibly do? Where are you going to get 500,000? I have a way, trust me, take care of Mom. After saying that, I hung up and walked out of the room. I bought a ticket to Yunhai City. Since I still couldn't control my strength well, taking transportation was the safer choice. The 3-hour ride felt like torture every single minute. Finally, the train slowly pulled into Yunhai Station. I didn't waste any time. As soon as I left the station, I got straight into a taxi. Sir, take me near the border crossing. The taxi stopped beside a deserted road. The crossing is over there. There's a checkpoint farther ahead, and tourists usually can't get through. There are a lot of hills around here. See those houses across the way? That's the town in Myanmar. I paid, pushed open the door, and got out with my backpack. A few hundred meters ahead, I could see Longwo's solemn border gate and the flag waving above it. Vehicles and people were lining up for inspection nearby. Farther away, a low mountain ridge stretched across the area. On the other side of the mountain, the buildings looked clearly different, messy and low. That was Myanmar. The borderline wound through that ridge. I didn't head toward the crossing. Instead, I turned toward the overgrown hillside on the other side of the road. There was no path, just thick woods with almost no sign of people. After walking for a few minutes and making sure I was completely out of sight from the road, I stopped and put down my backpack. Ahead of me was the heavily forested ridge. The normal way was blocked. I didn't take a running start. I only bent my knees slightly and the terrifying power in my legs exploded. Boom. The dirt under my feet blasted into a shallow pit, and my whole body shot toward the upper slope like a cannonball. The speed was insane. The trees, vines, and rocks around me blurred into green and gray streaks, flying backward. The wind screamed sharply in my ears. This time, I didn't panic. Instead, I focused hard, trying to control my posture midair. I didn't choose a straight upward path that would make me easy to spot. I bounced quickly through the forest, using each landing as a push-off. After only a few jumps, I was already close to the ridge. The vegetation here was even thicker, almost impossible to pass through, but I didn't slow down at all. Tough vines and thorny bushes were smashed aside and torn apart by me, making sharp snapping sounds. My clothes were ripped in more places, and my skin only felt a faint touch, not even enough to count as a scratch. Finally, I rushed onto the ridge. A faint trail, clearly stepped on before but now covered by weeds, lay in front of me. Beside it, a weathered stone marker was half buried in the dirt, with blurry numbers and the word "border" carved on it. This was the boundary. I looked toward the other side of the ridge. The terrain there was gentler, covered in endless green forest. But farther away in the valley, I could clearly see more messy buildings, smoke rising from chimneys, and even faint shouts in local dialect, along with barking dogs. Myanmar, here I come. Without hesitation, I jumped down from the ridge. I fell even faster this time, but now I had some experience. During the drop, I kept using my toes or palms to push off trees and raised rocks on the steep slope, slowing my impact. My movements were still a bit stiff. A few times I pushed too hard and made small trees shake violently, or stepped on rocks so hard that chips flew everywhere. When I landed, my feet left 2 shallow pits in the ground again, shaking leaves into the air all around me. I steadied myself, half crouched on the ground, and looked around. I had crossed the border successfully. No patrols, no alarms. The whole process was crude. but simple. As I passed through a relatively open banana grove, I saw empty water bottles and food wrappers scattered on the ground. The writing on them was Burmese, mixed with some Chinese. Clearly people had been active here. About half an hour later, I approached the edge of the valley and hid behind thick bushes, looking down. It was a typical border town, or more like a large village. On the street, I saw darker-skinned local men wearing traditional Burmese longyi, riding beat-up motorcycles as they sped by. I also saw some ethnic Chinese faces dressed no differently from people back home, hurrying around and talking in front of simple shops. What stood out most was the edge of the town near the forest. Several areas were enclosed by high walls. Barbed wire lined the tops, and some of it was electrified. At the entrances, men in mismatched uniforms stood guard with guns slung over them, scanning the surroundings with alert eyes. Those were probably the compounds. My heart started beating faster. My sister might be inside one of those high walls, but I couldn't act recklessly. I needed information. Soon, I reached the edge of the main street and fixed my eyes on a small Sichuan snack shop. The storefront was tiny, with 2 folding tables at the entrance. A slightly chubby middle-aged Chinese man in an apron was stir-frying something in a wok, and the smell drifted out. There were no other customers inside. I took a slow breath and tried to make my expression look natural. "Boss, I'd like something to eat." The middle-aged owner looked up at me. His eyes paused on my mud-covered clothes and all the tears in them. A hint of caution flashed in his eyes, but he quickly went back to normal. "What do you want?" "We've got fried rice and rice noodles." "1 fried rice and a bottle of water." The owner turned around to get busy. I used the chance to quickly scan the shop and the street outside. A few faded pictures of Chinese scenery and an old yellowed calendar were stuck on the wall. In the corner, a TV was on, playing a blurry Burmese show. The fried rice was served quickly. It looked plain and greasy. I picked up the disposable chopsticks. This time, I controlled my strength well and didn't snap them. "Bro, you just got here? Haven't seen you around." "Yeah, something happened at home. I came to look for a way out." The owner blew out a puff of smoke. His eyes moved across my face, but he didn't press further. "There's work around here, sure, but it's not an easy road." "Looking at you, you don't have a place lined up, do you?" "Boss, I'm really out of options. My sister was brought over here by some people. They said she got sent into some kind of compound. I just want to ask what places are around here and what the situation is." "Bro, that's not something you should ask around about. The water here is real muddy." "I know, boss. I just want a rough idea so I know what I'm dealing with." "My sister is 19, looks like a student, and she was with 3 female classmates. Have you heard anything? Or do you know if any new people were sent into any compound recently? I can pay you." Sigh. "Forget the money. You seem like an honest guy, so I'll tell you a little. Listen and then leave. Don't cause trouble and don't tell anyone I said this. There are 3 or 4 big compounds around this town. Hengsheng Tech Park in the Mountain Hollow to the north, New World Entertainment by the river on the east side, and Jinhui International a bit farther west. They're all places that eat people alive. Once you go in, no matter how you got in, getting out is hard. Your sister, a student-looking girl. If she came in over the last few days, I did hear some guys eating here talking. They said Jinhui International just got a new batch of goods. There were several young women inside, crying and making a scene. I don't know if that's them. West Side, Jinhui International? That place is heavily guarded. Lots of thugs inside, and they have guns. The one in charge is called Chai Kai, a local. He's ruthless, and he's connected to a bunch of powers around here. Bro, take my advice. If she really got sent there, the owner didn't finish, but his meaning was clear. I nodded silently and shoveled the last bite of fried rice into my mouth. "Thanks, boss." I took out some money and put it on the table. It was more than the meal cost. The owner glanced at it, said nothing, and quietly took it. I picked up my backpack and stood up. "Thanks again." With that, I turned and quickly walked into a quiet alley nearby. Another one who doesn't know he's walking into death? Sigh. I stood on a gravel slope west of the town. 100 meters ahead was the Jinhui International compound. A tall concrete wall surrounded it, with barbed wire wrapped along the top. Security cameras slowly rotated every few meters along the wall. Beside the locked iron gate was a simple guard booth, where 2 guards in messy green uniforms were smoking with AK rifles slung over them. I started walking, heading straight toward the compound gate. My steps made a soft crunching sound on the gravel. At first, the 2 guards in the booth didn't pay attention, but when I got within 50 meters of the gate and showed no sign of stopping or turning away, they finally noticed me.